Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror, contemplating not your external appearance, but the landscape of your mind. What do you see there? Chaos or order? Doubt or certainty? Weakness or a force waiting to be unleashed? In a world marked by uncertainty, where external circumstances seem to overwhelm us and where most people surrender their power to events beyond their control, there exists a secret that only few discover. This secret doesn't lie in the stars, not in luck, and not in the actions of other people. It lies in the quiet but immeasurable power of your own mind. Mental strength is not what most people think it is. It's not the ability to suppress emotions or pretend you feel nothing. It's not the hard shell that some people build around themselves to protect themselves from the world. True mental strength is something much deeper, something more revolutionary. It's the art of remaining calm in the midst of the storm, not because you don't feel the storm, but because you've learned that you yourself are the eye of the storm. Think for a moment about the people you admire most. What distinguishes them from the masses? Is it their money, their position, their appearance? Or is it something more subtle, something that radiates from within them? It's their ability to remain steadfast in the face of adversity, their calm. In chaotic situations, their clarity when others sink into confusion. That's mental strength in action. But why is mental strength so crucial for anyone who wants to develop and overcome challenges? The answer lies in a fundamental principle of human life. Everything begins in the mind. Every great achievement, every triumph, every breakthrough first emerges as a thought, as a vision, as an unshakable belief in the depths of human consciousness. Consider your life as a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds you plant daily. Mental strength is the soil in which these seeds grow. Without strong, nutrient-rich soil, even the best seeds won't flourish. With a strong foundation, however, even modest beginnings can become majestic trees that bear fruit, nourishing not only you, but everyone around you. Most people don't understand that they make daily decisions that either build their mental strength or undermine it. Every time you choose to react to a negative situation, instead of consciously responding, you weaken this inner muscle. Every time you allow external circumstances to dictate how you should feel, you give away a piece of your power. But what if you discovered that you can reclaim this power? What if you realized that mental strength isn't an innate trait, but a skill that can be developed, trained, and perfected? Throughout human history, there have been individuals who embodied this truth. People who faced impossible odds and persevered nonetheless. People who used setbacks as stepping stones. People who transformed their greatest defeats into their greatest triumphs. What was their secret? They had learned to master their thoughts instead of being mastered by them. Imagine you could wake up every morning knowing exactly who you are and where you're going. Imagine you could face every challenge with the calm certainty that you have the tools to handle it. Imagine you could maintain unshakable inner peace amid chaos and criticism. This is not only possible, it's your birthright. But like every right, it must be claimed, defended, and practiced daily. Mental strength manifests in the small moments of life. When someone makes a comment intended to hurt you, and you choose how to respond instead of reacting automatically. When you face a difficult decision, and you have the clarity to do what's right even when it's hard. When you experience a setback, and you have the wisdom to know this isn't the end but a new beginning. The development of mental strength is a process that requires patience, dedication, and above all, the understanding that you already carry within you everything you need. You're not broken and don't need to be repaired. You're not incomplete and don't need to be supplemented from the outside. You're a masterpiece waiting to be polished. But here's the truth many don't want to hear. Mental strength requires work. It requires the willingness to look at yourself honestly, acknowledge your weaknesses, and take daily steps to transform them into strengths. It requires the discipline to break old habits and create new ones that make you the person you want to become. Remember, every great tree was once just a small seed. Every mighty river began as a single drop. Every remarkable journey began with a single step. Your journey to mental strength begins with the decision. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now in this moment. What if you decided to live differently starting today? What if you realized that every challenge, every setback, every difficulty, it is actually an opportunity to strengthen your mental muscles? What if you understood that true power doesn't lie in controlling what happens around you, but in mastering what happens within you? The answers to these questions will be revealed in the coming pages. But first, you must accept a fundamental truth. You are more powerful than you can imagine. The seeds of greatness already lie within you. You just need to learn how to make them grow. Mental strength is the key that can open every door in your life. It's the foundation upon which all other successes are built. It's the quiet force that distinguishes you from the masses and enables you to lead a life that's not only successful, but also meaningful. Are you ready to discover this power? Are you ready to learn what becomes possible when you learn to master your mind? Then let us begin this journey together, a journey that will not only change you, but transform you. How the masses react, the patterns of reactive living. Look around and observe how most people react to life's challenges. What do you see? Reactions instead of responses, emotions instead of logic, impulses instead of deliberation. The overwhelming majority of people live in a state of permanent reactivity, trapped in a cycle of automatic responses to external stimuli. When something unexpected happens, what do? They allow their emotions to take control. They become angry, anxious, frustrated, or discouraged, as if they were powerless against life's waves. They have forgotten or never learned that between stimulus and reaction lies a space, a sacred space, where their true power resides. Observe someone who receives bad news. Do you see how panic immediately spreads in their eyes? Do you hear how their voice trembles? Do you feel how their energy transforms into fear? That's the natural reaction of the masses, to surrender completely to the moment without realizing they have a choice. But it goes even deeper. Most people have not only developed the habit of reacting impulsively, they've also developed the dangerous habit of making their identity dependent on external circumstances. They define themselves through what happens to them, instead of through what they make of it. Their self-worth fluctuates like a leaf in the wind, dependent on others' recognition, on their successes or failures, on circumstances often completely beyond their control. Think about Thomas, a man in his mid-30s, who worked for a company he loved. Thomas was intelligent, hard-working, and ambitious. He had dreams, goals, and a vision for his life. But Thomas had never learned to develop mental strength. He had never understood that his reactions to external events would determine his future. When the company Thomas worked for unexpectedly announced restructuring and his department head told him his position was at risk, Thomas reacted exactly as the masses react. He was seized by panic. His thoughts raced. What will become of me? How will I pay my bills? What will people think? Am I a failure? Instead of viewing this moment as an opportunity to assess his skills, explore new possibilities, or even steer his career in a new direction, Thomas allowed fear to cloud his thinking. He began focusing on what he might lose instead of what he could gain. In the following weeks, Thomas was consumed by bitterness. He spent hours complaining, analyzing the unfairness of the situation, and blaming others for his problems. He sank into self-pity and lost the energy he would have needed to act proactively. His relationships suffered. His family became witnesses to his negative attitude. His friends began avoiding his company because every conversation became a wall of complaints. Thomas became a magnet for negativity, and as the law of attraction states, he attracted more of what he was putting out. When an opportunity finally arose, another company interested in hiring him, Thomas was so trapped in his negative thought patterns that he couldn't present his best self. His energy was low, his confidence shattered, and his perspective clouded. He didn't get the job. Months later, Thomas reflected on this time and realized he had been his own worst enemy. The original situation, the company restructuring, had been beyond his control. But his reaction to it, his decision to be guided by fear, his choice to focus on the negative, all of that was completely within his power. He had given up control over the only thing he could truly control, his thoughts, and his responses. Thomas's story isn't unique. It's the story of millions of people who repeat similar patterns daily. It's the story of those who never learned that true power doesn't lie in controlling what happens, but in mastering how one reacts to it. The masses make the mistake of believing they're victims of circumstances. They see themselves as leaves in the wind, helplessly subject to the whims of fate. This mentality leads to a life of reaction instead of creation, a life of survival instead of thriving. But here's the frightening truth. Every time you choose to react impulsively, you reinforce this habit. Every time you allow external circumstances to disturb your inner peace, you make it more likely to happen again. You're training your mind to remain weak. Most people have also become victims of their own thought patterns. They repeat the same worries, the same fears, the same negative self-talk day after day, without realizing they're creating their own reality in doing so. They complain about their circumstances, while simultaneously maintaining the thought patterns that created those circumstances. Another fatal mistake of the masses is their tendency to seek immediate gratification. When they feel bad, they look for quick fixes, distraction, pleasure, avoidance. They've never learned that true strength lies in sitting with discomfort, feeling it without being overwhelmed by it, and then consciously choosing how they want to respond. This reactivity shows itself in all areas of life. In relationships, people react to their partner's words or actions with automatic emotions instead of pausing and choosing how they want to respond. At work, they let the day's stress determine their mood. In social situations, they give their power away to others' opinions. The masses have also developed the habit of constantly comparing themselves to others. They measure their worth against others' apparent successes, without realizing they're only seeing a fraction of the story. These comparisons lead to envy, insecurity, and the feeling of not being good enough, all emotions that undermine their mental strength. Even more dangerous is the masses' tendency to tie their identity to their problems. They define themselves through their struggles, their traumas, their limitations. I'm someone who suffers from anxiety, they say, or I'm not good at math, or I'm not the type who has success. This self-identification becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, but perhaps the masses' biggest mistake is their passivity. They wait for life to bring them something good, instead of understanding that they're the architects of their own experience. They hope for luck instead of creating their own opportunities. They wish for change without being willing to change themselves. This passivity leads to a life of mediocrity. They accept what is instead of striving for what could be. They let themselves be limited by their fears instead of growing beyond them. They stay in their comfort zone even when that zone makes them unhappy. The irony is that most people trapped in these patterns aren't even aware of them. They believe they're reacting normally, that their reactions are human and understandable. And in a certain way, they're right. That is normal, that is human. But being normal doesn't mean it's optimal. What if you realized you don't have to be normal? What if you understood that you have the power to react differently, think differently, live differently? The truth is that every one of the habits and patterns I've described can be changed. Every reaction can become a conscious response. Every weakness can be developed into a strength. Every limitation can become an opportunity for growth, but it requires a decision. It requires the willingness to distinguish yourself from the masses, to think differently, to act differently. It requires the courage to take responsibility for your life instead of giving it away to external circumstances. The question is, are you ready to make this decision? Are you ready to stop reacting like the masses and start responding like a person with true mental strength? What would happen if you decided to act differently starting today? What would change in your life if you learned to master your thoughts instead of being mastered by them? What would become possible if you developed the habit of consciously responding instead of automatically reacting? The answers to these questions will revolutionize your life. But first, you must understand that you have a choice. You're not condemned to live like the masses. You can choose a different path. The universal laws of mental strength. In the archives of history, in the writings of great thinkers, and in the biographies of extraordinary leaders, we find a remarkable constant. True Strength doesn't arise by chance, but through understanding and applying universal principles. The literature of self-mastery and success, from the ancient Stoics to modern thinkers, reveals a fundamental truth to us. Mental strength is not only possible, it's learnable. Imagine your mind as a garden. At this moment, it might be wild and untended, with weeds of negativity growing among the flowers of possibility. But what if you learned to be the gardener? What if you understood that you have the power to decide which thoughts thrive in this garden and which must be uprooted? The great leaders of history understood simple but revolutionary logic. If negative situations create chaos, fear, and reactivity, then conscious practice must create the opposite: calm, clarity, and conscious responses. This logic isn't complicated, but its application requires dedication and understanding. Consider a warrior going into battle. He doesn't prepare only when the enemy is at the gates. No, he trains daily, sharpens his weapons, strengthens his body, and above all, he shapes his mind. He knows the battle is won or lost long before it begins, in the quiet moments of preparation, in the discipline of daily practice. Your battle is no less important. Every day you face challenges that test your mental strength. Every criticism, every setback, every moment of uncertainty is a battle. The question is, do you go into these battles armed or unarmed? The literature of self-mastery teaches us that the mind is like a muscle. It grows stronger through resistance, not through comfort. If you only use your mental strength when you feel good, you'll never discover the true power that lies within you. True strength reveals itself in moments when everything seems to be against you, and you can still maintain calm, think clearly, and act consciously. Imagine a mighty river flowing through mountains. It encounters rocks, obstacles, narrow passages. Does it fight against these obstacles? No. It flows elegantly around them, finds new ways, adapts its form, but never loses sight of its goal: reaching the sea. That's the metaphor for true mental strength. It doesn't mean being rigid and inflexible. It means being like water, flexible but unstoppable, adaptable but never deviating from your true course. Historical leaders understood that external circumstances only have as much power over them as they give them. They recognized that between what happens and their reaction to it lies a space, a sacred space of choice. In this space lies their true power. The great philosophers of antiquity taught that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can completely control how we react to it. This simple insight is the foundation of all mental strength. It's the difference between a life of reaction and a life of conscious creation. When you understand and apply these principles, something remarkable happens. You begin to see challenges not as threats but as opportunities. You start to view criticism not as an attack, but as information. Setbacks don't become defeats, but teachers. Consider a tree growing in a windy valley. The constant wind doesn't make it weaker, it makes it stronger. Its roots grow deeper, its trunk becomes more robust. Its branches learn to bend without breaking. The wind that could have destroyed it becomes the instrument of its growth. So it is with the challenges in your life. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of doubt is a wind that can make you stronger if you learn to dance with it instead of fighting against it. The science of mental strength is based on another fundamental principle. What you repeatedly do, you become. Your habits shape your character shapes your destiny. If you daily practice the habit of consciously responding instead of automatically reacting, you become a person who naturally responds with strength and wisdom. Imagine you're a sculptor working on a masterpiece. Every hammer blow, every careful chisel stroke brings the vision closer to completion. You are both the sculptor and the marble. Every conscious choice you make, every situation where you choose strength over weakness, is a chisel stroke that frees the greatness within you. But here's a secret many overlook. Developing mental strength doesn't require perfect conditions. In fact, it thrives in imperfection. It grows in the chaotic, unpredictable, difficult moments of life. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. The ancient sages understood that suffering is optional. even when pain is inevitable. Pain is what life brings us. Loss, disappointment, challenges. Suffering is what we add by resisting these realities, by taking them personally, by interpreting them as evidence of our inadequacy. When you learn to accept pain without adding suffering, you discover extraordinary power. You discover that you're much more resilient than you thought. You discover that what you once feared can't break you. You discover your true strength. Consider a diamond. It forms under enormous pressure. In the depths of the earth over millennia. The pressure that could have crushed it instead transforms it into something precious, something beautiful, something indestructible. You are this diamond. The pressure you experience shapes you into something extraordinary if you allow it. The literature of success also teaches us that mental strength is contagious. When you radiate strength, you inspire others to find their own. When you maintain calm in the midst of a storm, you become a lighthouse for others lost in the fog. Your strength multiplies through the influence it has on others. But perhaps the most important principle of all is this: mental strength is a choice you can make in every moment. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you choose or don't choose, practice or neglect, develop or let atrophy. In this moment, as you read these words, you have the opportunity to take a new direction. You can choose to let go of the old story, the story that says you're a victim of circumstances, that you're not strong enough, that change is too difficult. You can begin a new story, a story of strength, of conscious choice, of unshakable inner peace. Imagine a mountain that has withstood the elements for millennia. Storms whip over its peaks, rain washes its slopes, snow covers its summits. But the mountain remains. It's not unmoved. It changes slowly, but it remains strong and constant in its essence. That's the kind of strength you can develop. Not the brittle hardness that breaks at the first major challenge, but the deep-rooted strength that grows with every test. The universal laws of mental strength are simple to understand, but revolutionary in their application. The first law states, what you repeatedly think you become. Your thoughts are the seeds of your reality. If you daily sow thoughts of strength, possibility, and gratitude, you'll harvest a reality that reflects these qualities. The second law teaches, resistance strengthens what you fight against. When you fight against your fears, against your circumstances, against life itself, you give these things more power over you. True strength lies in accepting what is, and then consciously choosing how you want to respond. The third law reveals, your greatest weakness can become your greatest strength. Every fear you overcome becomes a gateway to greater power. Every limitation you transcend becomes a source of wisdom. Every pain you integrate becomes an instrument of compassion. When you understand and apply these laws, you begin to recognize that you're not the victim of your circumstances, you're their architect. You create your experience through the way you think, feel, and act. This realization is both liberating and frightening, because it means you're completely responsible for your life. But with this responsibility comes immeasurable power. If you're the architect of your experience, then you can redesign your life. You can change the blueprints, you can decide how the finished building should look. Consider a blacksmith who shapes metal. He takes raw, formless material and transforms it through heat, pressure, and skillful craftsmanship into something useful and beautiful. You are both the blacksmith and the metal. Life's challenges are the fire, your conscious decisions are the hammer, and your vision is the form you want to create. The true alchemy of mental strength lies in your ability to transform ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities for growth. Every interaction, every challenge, every seemingly insignificant moment is an opportunity to practice and deepen your strength. When you integrate these principles into your daily life, you'll find that not only do your reactions change, but the nature of the situations you attract changes. Strength attracts opportunities. Clarity attracts clarity. Peace creates more peace in your life. This isn't mystery or magic. It's the natural result of the laws by which the universe operates. When you order your inner world, your outer world orders itself accordingly. When you cultivate peace in your mind, peace manifests in your life. The time has come to not just understand these principles, but to live them. The time has come to move from theory to practice, from inspiration to transformation. In the coming chapters, you'll discover concrete tools and strategies to apply these eternal truths in your daily life. But first, you must make a fundamental decision. Are you ready to take responsibility for your life? Are you ready to accept that you have the power to change everything? Are you ready to become the master of your own destiny? If your answer is yes, then let us move to the practical application of these principles. Let us discover how you can transform these universal truths into concrete, daily applicable tools that will revolutionize your life. Practical steps to build mental strength. Daily knowledge without application is like a seed that's never planted, full of potential but fruitless. You've understood the principles, you've recognized the power that lies within you. Now it's time to transform these insights into concrete, daily practices that will systematically build your mental strength. Practice the sacred moment of pause. The first and perhaps most important step in developing mental strength is learning the art of conscious pause. Between every stimulus and every reaction lies a moment, a precious, sacred moment where your true power resides. Begin today by recognizing and using this moment. When someone says something that would normally anger you, pause. Take one deep breath. Ask yourself in this moment, how do I want to respond to this situation? What reaction would correspond to the person I want to become? This simple practice will revolutionize your life. Imagine a colleague criticizes your work in front of others. Your automatic impulse might be to defend yourself, strike back, or feel hurt. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you choose, then you can respond with dignity. You can say, "Thank you for your feedback. I'll think it through." Or you can calmly ask, "Can you give me specific areas where I could improve?" This pause isn't just a technique. It's the foundation of all mental strength. Practice it with small annoyances. When the internet is slow, when you're stuck in traffic, when someone is rude. The more you practice this pause in unimportant moments, the more natural it becomes in important moments. Visualize your strongest version. Daily, every morning, is an opportunity for rebirth. Before you leave your bed, before you face the day's challenges, take 5 minutes for a powerful visualization. Close your eyes and see yourself moving through the day with strength, calm, and wisdom. Visualize yourself in difficult situations, a stressful meeting, a conflict at home, an unexpected problem. See yourself not as stressed or overwhelmed, but as calm, clear, and capable of action. Feel the calm in your body, hear the confidence in your voice, sense the clarity in your mind. This visualization isn't mere wishful thinking, it's brain training. Your subconscious can't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you daily see yourself reacting with strength, you're programming your brain to actually react that way. When you go to bed at night, repeat this ritual. But this time reflect on the moments of the day when you showed strength. Celebrate these victories, even if they seem small. Every moment when you consciously chose, instead of automatically reacting, is a victory worth recognition. Ask yourself the transformative questions. Daily, your questions determine your answers, and your answers determine your life. Ask yourself these 3 powerful questions daily that will shift your focus from problems to solutions, from weakness to strength, from reaction to conscious creation. Ask yourself in the morning, how can I grow today? This question aligns your mind with possibilities instead of problems. It opens you to opportunities for learning, improvement, development. It transforms every day from a struggle for survival into an adventure of growth. Ask yourself at midday, what can I learn from this situation? No matter what has happened, a success, a setback, a challenge, a joy, there's always a lesson to extract. This question transforms every experience into a teacher, every moment into an opportunity for wisdom. Ask yourself in the evening, how did I show my strength today? This reflection reinforces positive behaviors and builds your self-confidence. It helps you recognize that you already have strength and use it daily, even when you don't always notice it. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Become the silent witness of your own mind. Begin observing your thoughts as if you were watching a movie. When a negative thought arises, don't label it as bad. Simply say, "Interesting. There's a thought of worry," or "There's a thought of self-criticism." This practice of conscious observation creates distance between you and your thoughts. You begin to recognize that you're not your thoughts. You're the thinker who can observe these thoughts. This realization is the beginning of true freedom. When you notice you're caught in a spiral of negative thoughts, don't resist. Simply observe. Say to yourself, "My mind is doing what minds do right now. It's thinking. That's okay." Then gently redirect your attention to something more constructive. Practice this especially in stressful situations. When you're worrying about a presentation, observe these worries. There's the fear of failure. There's the thought that everyone will judge me. Through this observation, the thoughts lose their power over you. Transform challenges into training sessions. Every conflict, every criticism, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to train your mental strength. Instead of avoiding these situations or getting upset about them, welcome them as training partners. When someone interrupts you while you're speaking, that's an opportunity to practice patience. When you're criticized, that's a chance to show humility and willingness to learn. When you're under pressure, that's an opportunity to prove calm under stress. Imagine you're an athlete training for the Olympics. You wouldn't only train on sunny days when you feel good. You'd train especially hard when conditions are difficult, because you know that's the path to peak performance. Treat difficult people as your best trainers. The person who annoys you teaches you patience. The person who criticizes you teaches you humility. The person who challenges you teaches you resilience. Instead of wishing these people would disappear from your life, thank them inwardly for the lessons they offer you. This perspective transforms your entire life. Suddenly there are no more bad situations, only training opportunities. There are no more difficult people, only teachers in disguise. There are no more problems, only opportunities to prove and deepen your strength. The next time you're in a stressful situation, maybe you're standing in a long line, or your computer crashes, or someone is rude to you, remember that this is your training studio. This is your opportunity to prove who you've become. This is your moment to choose strength or weakness, conscious response or automatic reaction. Start small. When your coffee is too hot, instead of getting annoyed, smile and think, a perfect opportunity to practice patience. When someone is rude in traffic, instead of cursing, breathe deeply and think, a wonderful opportunity to maintain inner peace. These daily practices may seem simple, but their cumulative effect is transformative. Every conscious choice you make strengthens the muscle of mental strength. Every situation you treat as a training session makes you more resilient. Every pause you take before reacting deepens your wisdom. The path to mental strength isn't complicated, but it requires commitment. It requires the willingness to apply these practices daily, even when you don't always feel like it. It requires the discipline to be conscious, even in moments when it would be easier to react automatically. But the reward is immeasurable. With each practice, with each conscious moment, with each transformed challenge, you're not only building mental strength, you're creating a life of extraordinary quality, meaning, and power. Are you ready to make these practices your daily rituals? Are you ready to discover which version of yourself emerges when you consistently apply these tools? The answer lies in your hands, and the time to begin is now. The metaphors of mastery. 3 powerful images for mental strength. True wisdom reveals itself not only in concepts and strategies, but in the living images that deepen our understanding and enrich our practice. In this chapter, we'll explore 3 powerful metaphors that will help you not just understand the essence of mental strength, but embody it. The eternal river. The metaphor of unstoppable adaptation. Imagine you are a mighty river that has flowed through the landscape for millennia. What makes this river so remarkable? It's not its power alone, but its extraordinary ability to adapt, coupled with its unwavering persistence in pursuing its goal. Observe a river as it encounters obstacles. Does it hit a rock? It doesn't fight against it. It doesn't complain about the injustice. It doesn't exhaust itself in useless resistance. Instead, it flows elegantly around the rock, finds new ways, adapts its form, but never loses sight of its goal, reaching the sea. Is the path blocked? The river finds another. Is the passage too narrow? It digs it deeper. Is the obstacle too large? It flows over it or gathers its strength until it can overcome it. The river embodies a paradoxical truth. It's both yielding and unstoppable, both flexible and purposeful. This metaphor teaches you a revolutionary way to deal with life's challenges. When you encounter an obstacle, whether it's a difficult person, a professional challenge, or a personal crisis, don't ask yourself, "Why is this in my way?" Instead, ask, "How can I flow around this obstacle like water?" When someone criticizes, you don't become a rigid rock that resists the criticism. Become water. Let the criticism flow through you. Take what's useful and let the rest continue flowing. When you experience a setback, don't harden into bitterness. Flow around this setback. Find new paths to your goal. The river also teaches you the power of patience. It doesn't reach the sea through haste, but through constant, unceasing movement. Some parts of its journey are fast and exciting, others slow and almost still, but it always keeps flowing. So should you pursue your goals, not with desperate haste, but with calm, steady movement. When you internalize the river metaphor, you develop remarkable serenity. You stop wasting energy, fighting against what you can't change. Instead, you concentrate all your power on flowing around obstacles and finding your way to your goals. This metaphor also changes your relationship to time and progress. The river doesn't judge its speed. It doesn't flow frustrated when it slows down, nor does it become arrogant when it speeds up. It simply is. It flows. It exists completely in every moment, while simultaneously streaming unstoppably toward its ultimate goal. The Master Blacksmith, the metaphor of conscious transformation. Step into the workshop of a master blacksmith. See the glowing fire, hear the rhythmic hammering on the anvil. Feel the intense heat that transforms raw metal. The blacksmith takes formless, hard material and creates from it tools of extraordinary beauty and utility. You are both the blacksmith and the metal. Your daily experiences are the fire, your conscious decisions are the hammer, and your vision of yourself is the form you want to create. But here's the secret. The metal doesn't resist the transformation, it welcomes it. Observe how the blacksmith works. He doesn't put the metal in the fire once and expect it to transform immediately. No, he's patient, methodical, determined. He heats, hammers, cools, and repeats the process again and again. Every blow is conscious, every heating is targeted, every shaping is part of a larger design. So must you work with yourself. The challenges of your life are the fire that makes you soft and malleable. Don't resist this fire. Welcome it as a necessary part of your transformation. The difficult moments aren't your enemies. They're the tools that shape you into something stronger, more beautiful, more useful. When you receive criticism, see it as the fire that softens your pride so it can be reshaped into humility. When you experience a setback, view it as the hammer that strengthens your resilience. When you're under pressure, recognize it as the process that refines you into a better version of yourself. The master blacksmith is never frustrated by the time transformation takes. He understands that quality can't be rushed. He knows that every blow of the hammer is necessary. Every heat of the fire serves a purpose. He works with patience, but also with unwavering determination. This metaphor teaches you that change isn't something that happens to you. It's something you consciously create. You're not the passive victim of circumstances. You're the active architect of your own transformation. Every challenge is an opportunity to shape yourself. Every difficult situation is a chance to refine yourself. When you view your life through the lens of the master blacksmith, you develop a completely new relationship with difficulties. You begin to see them not as bad luck or injustice, but as necessary elements in your conscious self-creation. You understand that without the fire of challenge and the hammer of discipline, you would forever remain in your original, unformed state. The blacksmith also has a vision. He doesn't just see the raw metal before him, he sees the finished tool he wants to create. This vision guides every hammer blow, informs every decision about temperature and timing. So must you have a clear vision of the person you want to become. This vision will guide your conscious decisions and help you direct every experience toward your desired transformation. The unshakable tree. The metaphor of deep-rootedness. Imagine a majestic tree that has stood in the same earth for centuries. It has weathered countless storms, endured droughts, withstood floods. What's the secret of its permanence? It doesn't lie in its size alone, but in the invisible force beneath the earth, its extensive, deep root system. This tree is a perfect symbol for true mental strength. Its branches may bend in the wind, its leaves may fall and regrow, but its roots remain firm. The wilder the storm, the deeper its roots dig into the nourishing earth. You are this tree. Your roots are your values, your principles, your unshakable belief in yourself. When these roots are deep and strong, no external,